you throw 100 darts at the dartboard, you're going to hit the dartboard kind of idea.
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast, with your hosts, Connor O'Neill and Matthew Hughes.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerdy Misfit Podcast.
Hello.
Hello. And today we've got a review.
It's a review. Another review.
First thoughts of the Thunderbolts.
Asterisks.
But before we dive into that, we got a few announcements to make. First of all, we'll be having a special podcast episode in the coming weeks, and that will be our 3-year anniversary stream. You heard that correctly. It will be a live podcast that'll be on May 15th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Obviously, we welcome all of you to come, ask questions, hang out. We'll have a few topics prepared, and hopefully we can snowball it from there into a fun time.
Where's it gonna be?
What do you mean? It'll be here.
But where? Where do they tune into the live stream?
Here, right here on YouTube.
Right on the YouTube. Maybe they're not listening to it on YouTube.
Yep, it'll be on YouTube, and we'll also put links everywhere. I mean, on all social media. So
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be our first live episode for the podcast. So we'll see how that goes, and hopefully, if it goes well, we will
Bring it
do
back.
some more in the future.
Exactly.
With that said, also we have Anime of the Month coming up in 2 weeks' time. The Anime of the Month is Delicious in Dungeon. Join our Discord where you can join the Anime of the Month discussion, chat with us about how you're feeling about it, where you're at. And if you have anything you'd like to bring up for us to say on the podcast, because we will. With that said, also, don't forget to check out Nerdy Misfit Gaming. Every Tuesday, Troy is streaming. I believe he just finished up Spider-Man 2. So we'll see
he's got in store.
Yeah, see what he has in store. Something new coming up. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps out the podcast a lot. If you're listening to the podcast on whatever podcast platform, make sure to drop a rating and review. That helps immensely. And with all those announcements out of the way, I guess we'll head into spoiler warning for the Thunderbolts.
Thunderbolt asterisks. Obviously, we're talking about Thunderbolts. Released May 2nd, 2025, so just about 2 weeks ago. The budget, only $180 million. Seems kind of small, but in a good way, Obviously, Marvel, it's an action, it's a superhero. As of this recording, we got 165.5 million worldwide. Domestic is only 79 million. And then rating is 7.7 on IMDb, 88% for the critic score, and 94% for the audience score.
And this is as of recording.
Tomato, as of May 7th in the evening.
That's important because as of right now, we only have the initial box office weekend.
Pretty much, yeah.
So
these numbers could fluctuate a lot.
They could skyrocket due to the current scores, and maybe people will want to go out and see it, but we'll see.
Exactly. And moving right in, the acting and the casting. So obviously we've seen most of this cast before.
Yeah. Was there anyone
I got 2.
Super new? I guess we have
2. Basically.
2 big new ones. Yeah.
Bob, aka the Sentry, aka the Void, and another one that I have mentioned is Mel, Valentina's assistant. The reason why is because we see her wearing a necklace, and there's a character in the comics named Mel.
Okay.
Who's known as Songbird, and she has a little bird necklace on. So people are theorizing that it's her.
Okay, interesting.
So I just wanted to reference that character just in case, she becomes something bigger. And I feel like she's definitely going to be back with her being Valentina's assistant.
Yeah, because we're definitely going to see more of Valentina for sure.
Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, we got White Widow. Like, we got Yelena back. We got Bucky Barnes. We got Red Guardian, U.S. Agent, Ghost, Taskmaster. Valentina's back. A bunch. I think I did write down, in the connections part where they're all from, but we'll get into that. Yeah. Do you want me to just jump right into the story?
Yeah, jump into the main story.
This is me doing my best to summarize this movie in as little words as possible.
Oh boy.
So we jump right into Yelena working for Valentina. She's taking down the Ox Group facility regarding the Sentry Project. First time I saw that, I thought she said Oscorp, and I was like, what?
Well, that would have been crazy.
But it was not. It was Ox Groups. While she's there, Valentina's in court being accused of being connected to what's called the Sentry Project. Valentina collects all of the operatives in one place to kill them, the ones that work for her, to erase anything that's connected to her. U.S. agent, Taskmaster, Ghost, and Yelena. While they're there, we get introduced to Bob, who helps them get out of where they're being captured, basically. While they're getting out, Bob touches Yelena, and she has a terrible flashback to her childhood over the first test in the Red Room. Bob then turns himself in so the rest of the group can get away, minus Taskmaster, because she got shot in the head and she died. Red Guardian shows up to help them to get to safety before Bucky shows up and brings them to the States to help take down Valentina after she is trying to bring back the Sentry program. We learn that Bob is the only survivor of the Sentry project and is an old drug addict. The group, who now call themselves Thunderbolts due to a Pee-wee soccer team that Yelena used to be a part of, they get their butts completely handed to them by Bob, who now goes by Sentry and is basically unstoppable, minus a kill switch that Valentina's assistant Mal uses to kill him, which technically fails because Sentry gets knocked unconscious, really, and Void takes over his body. His power basically takes over most of New York, and Yelena realizes the only way to save Bob is to go into the Void and relive through her past memories. The rest of the Thunderbolts decided to slowly after that join her in the Void, and with the power of friendship, they save Bob from the Void itself, and they save New York. As things go back to normal, the Thunderbolts run into Valentina again at an emergency press conference, where Thunderbolts get introduced to the world as the New Avengers.
And it's worth noting that the reason Valentina was trying to cover all of her tracks is because they were trying to impeach her.
Yeah.
The government was trying to get rid of her.
Yeah.
So she was flustered trying to get rid of all of her stuff, and basically she was going to introduce Sentry as the new
Earth's mightiest hero.
And have him just kind of wreck this ragtag group of not really heroes. And then when things go backwards, she flips it into something to work for her, where she's like, this is all on purpose.
I can't be impeached because I'm saving the world.
Look at the heroes, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, definitely not a unique story in terms of a ragtag group of people who you
Marvel's
don't think
Suicide
belong
Squad.
together.
Let's just say it what it is.
It is and it isn't, because Suicide Squad at least has that element of, like, they don't want to be together.
Yeah.
And if they have no choice, because
they go and die.
So, yeah. Definitely not uncommon. Ragtag group of people coming together, fight a bigger issue. I will say, from initial watch, it was enjoyable.
Yep.
I didn't have any too, like, glaring issues. I guess the ending is kind of predictable, but kind of what you expect. I did see some people saying the movie was boring when I was looking at other topics and, Reddits and whatnot. Did you find it to be boring?
I found it almost too fast. Like, that's my only, to me, it was
did feel like some characters kind of ended up getting
a little bit pushed
thrown
to
the
side.
back after.
Mostly just Ghost. Mostly.
No, US Agent once
here and there.
you hear, but, like, in the beginning, he's, like, important-ish.
Yeah.
Then you realize what happened with his family, and then all of a sudden it's just like, well, we showed you this
he's a supporting character
vulnerable
now.
side.
Yeah.
We're done with him.
We can get into that, potentially why that is the way it is. I don't think it was boring. I think it was pretty, it was kind of go.
I guess if what you're expecting is a straight up full action movie, then perhaps, it would be a little bit more boring, but that's kind of what made the movie unique. It wasn't as focused on just action. There was a lot more harder hitting themes, and obviously to have any feelings towards those themes that they were trying to show, you have to have some sort of development backstory to at least try and emphasize and have empathy with the character, right? So
exactly, empathetic,
cinematography and visual effects. Visual effects were average. Like, they're not gonna blow your mind, but they weren't bad. Definitely some good moments and some not so good moments when it comes to the visual effects, for sure. If I was to pick some highlights, I really liked the fight scene with Sentry. I thought that was done really well. Really, really helped show also just how powerful he truly was. And obviously, the team that is the Thunderbolts was not. Most of them are just humans.
Yeah.
We have a couple,
Russian super soldiers.
Yeah, we have a couple super soldiers, but not like anything mind-blowing in terms of Marvel powers. And just was a good example of showing how powerless they were. So I thought that was done pretty well. Fights were enjoyable. Not tons of fights.
No.
A little bit more earlier, and then kind of just...
There's a fight in each act, basically.
Yeah, but nothing too crazy
No.
for the fight. And the fight choreography was okay.
Yeah, pretty mid. Nothing
Yeah,
like
nothing
insane. I will say for when Bucky's fighting, there's a lot of callbacks to his earlier moves.
Mhm.
So like when he's fighting Sentry with the knife, he does his old like drop the knife,
Yeah,
try and
try
go
and
for it
stab,
kind
yeah.
of thing.
Yeah. Did you notice anything from a cinematography perspective or anything?
I think the visual effects of Void were pretty good. Obviously not as scary as he is in the comics.
yeah, when he's just it kind of just blacked him out.
That's really is, except for the piercing eyes.
Yeah, it would have been cool to have some sort of like
Tentacle
arms or like spreading out, but
yeah.
they kind of used the shadow for that.
Which is kind of I still kind of liked it. I thought the effect was kind of neat.
Yeah.
The effects that were used when the Thunderbolts were getting their butts kicked by Sentry looked pretty good. And then with like the production value, I think the costumes look good. Most of which we've seen before, but slightly updated. Ghost has a different mask than Ant-Man and the Wasp. Sentry, very comic book accurate.
Yeah, really well done.
And I'm very happy that they made notice of the blonde hair, being like,
hey, he doesn't look like Sentry right now. Oh,
yeah.
but he will.
Yeah, he will. Yeah, and then obviously the Golden Child, the power of the 10,000 suns, like that whole shebang.
They nail it.
I was shocked, but I'm happy that they were like, oh yeah, no, he has blonde hair, and then he'd be like, what if I actually didn't want this? Like they're self-aware of it, you know.
There was also the intro scene, which is actually a stunt that Florence Pugh did herself, which was off the second tallest building, I believe.
Insane.
Which is kind of cool. Good on her. She was probably one of the highlights in terms of. I mean, all the actors were pretty solid.
Well, she was the
focal
one
point.
main character. She is the focal point.
Yeah. But even though it's a team, it's supposed to be a team movie, but really it's
her.
It's Yelena. Like she's kind of the main focal point. I would say all the actors were pretty solid and had really good chemistry. But I would say Florence kind of carried. She was great. She's just a great actor in general, so that helps.
Yeah.
David Harbour was funny. Sometimes maybe it like the Red Guardian. I guess the Red Guardian humor is not for everyone.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of so idiotic where some of the jokes you're not laughing at, but you know, you throw 100 darts at the dartboard, you're gonna hit the dartboard kind of idea.
But I think that works really well with his character because I think that's like the whole point. He is like a stupid comedic relief. Like he's a dude who's way too old to be a superhero, but he knows it.
Likes to relive the glory days.
Exactly.
Yeah. But everyone else was great. All really well done. Nothing really to nitpick for acting. At least I thought they were all really solid, and chemistry was good.
Chemistry was on like good with everyone. I was kind of worried about that because they all kind of come from different projects of the MCU, and
I did see an interview with the actor for Ghost saying one hard thing is coming from, especially with how long it's been since she's been in the MCU, was she only knows the direction from when she was in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
And she's like, it was, you know, it's a little bit different, obviously different director and a different
experience altogether.
And a different path for the character. So
yeah.
It isn't as easy as just being like, oh, I just be that character again. Because she's changed a lot. Whereas obviously you have some of these characters who were just themselves. I think a good example of that is like when it comes to Florence Pugh for Yelena, like she's just very, I don't know, she's almost like the better Black Widow in terms of they still have good humor, but like really dry humor, and her like comedic timing is perfect with the lines, and she's just, I don't know, there's just more of a interest. I guess that could also be because we have so much more backstory about her. Unlike Black Widow, we have nothing.
Yeah.
So that could help, obviously, with being more attached to the character, which isn't a bad thing. Shall we move on to do you want to just go over the connections quick for anyone if perhaps they're not watching any TV shows and whatnot?
Red Guardian and Taskmaster are all from the Black Widow movie. Yelena is from Black Widow and the Hawkeye TV show. U.S. Agent is from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This is his first movie performance. Ghost is from Ant-Man and the Wasp. Bucky is from all the phases of the MCU, going back to the first Captain America. He's in all the Captain Americas. He's in Avengers. He
is in a ton of movies.
Is he in Age of Ultron or no?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But he's in like the Black Panther post-credit scene, and he's in all the Captain Americas. And he's in Avengers 3 and 4. He's as right now holds
he's in the Winter Soldier.
Has the stand of being character from the Phase 1 going
But he's
into
in
Phase 6.
he's in the new Cap as well.
The new Cap as well. He was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show.
Like he's
He's
trying
in
to
it.
compete for having the most appearances in the MCU.
might, yeah.
He's getting up there.
Him and Happy Hogan are like the top two, I'm pretty sure.
They're getting up there.
And then Valentina is from Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV show. She was in the post-credit scene for Black Widow.
Yes.
And she was in Black Panther Wakanda Forever
Yep.
as well, which, not going to lie, I kind of forgot about.
This is almost, I would say, like her biggest.
It's on par
It's
with
on-
Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
She does play an important part, and she references to
Things she's done.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, shall we jump into our pros and cons list?
Yeah, for positives. Where'd it go? There we go. Positives. I think the film brought back what kind of felt like a classic feel to Marvel with the kind of the quick one-liners, good character developments to characters we care about, while still moving the story of the MCU forward and kind of ramping the audience up to what could be next.
Absolutely.
I think you kind of need this far going, like, because of how much they're like pushing like Avengers Doomsday, the Russo brothers are back. Like, you know, you want that audience to be pumped, get that endgame adrenaline again.
And it felt like we were leading to something. Like there is connection.
Something bigger, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this film did a surprisingly good way of making it so if you didn't watch the other Marvel products that are on Disney Plus, like if you never watched Black Widow, never watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, you can still follow this story. You're not going to get like everything, but I feel like they kind of did enough.
Yeah,
like,
you won't get as many all the references, and you won't be as informed on the characters. But they still did enough explaining and back some flashbacks and what that you can get the idea.
Specifically with like U.S. agent like Walker's character. Like if you never watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, going into this movie, you're like, I have no idea who this is.
Yeah, who is this Captain America wannabe?
Exactly, and they play into that. And I think the story was overly easy to follow without making it too complicated. I was shocked to see how good the chemistry was between the cast. Because sometimes when you have a movie with this, when people have kind of have like these small supporting roles, I feel like sometimes they're all trying to fight to get to that spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like majority of the characters kind of got their little spotlight in the film and kind of moved on.
They had like a moment, yeah.
Yeah, I think the film told a solid story about depression and how it can literally take over your mind and harm you and the others around you. But
Yeah,
like
it was
in a superhero kind of way.
Well, it was a good way of showing the human side of heroes.
Yeah.
That they go through some of the same stuff that regular people go through. They didn't shy away from it like I felt they did a bit more in Iron Man 2 and 3. You know, when it came to Tony's sickness, which obviously was referenced to, I think, his alcoholism in the comics.
Yeah.
And obviously with Iron Man 3, we had his PTSD, which it just feels like they partly forget about through the movie.
They kind of dropped it a bit.
Yeah. Where this one, it did feel like we were focusing, like we did keep our eye on that darker element when it came to drug abuse, suicide, domestic abuse in the family, you know, depression. Like that was all, and it covered all of the characters basically. They've all were suffering in some way or another, and obviously the big bad is Void, bringing them into basically the Shadow Realm where they have to relive their worst experiences, and you have to try and get over that. And we'll get into the ending, but obviously it's still a good lesson that no, you're not alone, and if you do feel like you're alone, there are
people that can help you.
There's people that can help you. There's helplines out there, so don't be scared to reach out and just put your hand out there, because someone will grab it and help you.
Yeah.
So it's a nice lesson still. I definitely agree with the jokes being like there was still some, maybe I guess for some people, cringe Marvel humor, but for the most part the jokes did not feel as forced.
Yeah.
They felt like a lot more natural and more like each character. Red Guardian, his humor was very the same of what you expect from Red Guardian.
US
like we said,
Agent,
Yelena was very dry,
Yeah.
but in her way, in her delivery. US Agent was more of a jerk, kind of like a jerk humor. And it all kind of worked together, and it just felt more natural because it was it wasn't out of place for the character to just say something for the sake of it being funny, which was nice to see. I also brought it in here, but we already mentioned which Sentry was done extremely well.
Yep.
Big thing that a lot of people are saying is it's the best movie since Guardians 3. Just for reference, that means movies such as Captain America: Brave New World, Deadpool vs. Wolverine, The Marvels, and then there's Guardians 3.
I'm gonna say this is gonna be hot take here. This movie, for different reasons, is better than Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being is because when you watch Deadpool versus Wolverine, you are there
For Ryan
Reynolds, Hugh
and
Jackman.
That's
and
it.
all the cameos and all of the Easter eggs.
I don't even think I'm there for those.
Fair enough.
I think I think most people are just there to finally see those two play those characters
that's
together.
such a big thing, yeah. So, but for me, the Deadpool versus Wolverine, the story,
Awful.
is so awful. But at least with this film, we have a good story, point A to point B.
Decent story. It progresses the MCU. It's important for the MCU.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember how much I liked Guardians 3 as my own, and I think I did enjoy it.
Yeah, it was the Rocket Raccoon story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. So I would probably say I agree. That being said, I do think, and we've mentioned it before, I do think the Marvels does get a little bit too much hate.
It does.
I think chemistry was really solid. I do think there definitely, from a story perspective, they could have fixed certain elements to help make the flow a lot better for that movie. But there were definitely some really good elements within that film, especially the fight choreography. I think fight choreography was awesome with all the powers.
Really well done for that, for sure.
But yeah, it's probably fair. Brave New World was just like decent, right? Where this one I would say is more on like the solid. Like if Brave New World is more action, and kind of giving you like, oh, these are where certain characters are at.
Yeah, Brave New World is a good like middle ground.
I would say like it's like a 7.
Yeah.
And this is closer to that 8 range, I would say. It's definitely, I do think it might be a little overhyped, but maybe that's just because we're finally getting something that everyone is enjoying.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people have been like, oh, Marvel's back, baby. I don't know. I think it
was a fun film.
This feels similar to like, not to the exact extent, but like Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man, when you have a team or characters that not a lot of people know about, and then that opening weekend, people are like, this is actually pretty good. And then it's just full blown. People are like, go see it, But I think after like last year, we only had one Marvel movie. The few Marvel movies before that didn't get well received. So I think when we have Captain America: Brave New World, did decent, and then this coming out and people are like, it's coming, we got to go. This is the I think it's good. I don't think it's too overhyped. I will say, for me, I was a little hesitant because Captain America: Brave New World had a lot of reshoots, and we saw how that affected the movie. Thunderbolts had a bunch of reshoots in November and December, and after going to see Brave New World, I was like, I hope it does not affect it as bad as Brave New World was. And to me, you don't feel the reshoots.
No, it felt all pretty cohesive. Nothing felt like it was like out of place. Post-credit scene actually felt more like an OG Marvel post-credit scene, not the first one. The first one was obviously just more for the jokes.
Also felt like a more classic
Marvel.
But
it like we've gotten some post-credit scenes where you're like, when or if we will even see certain things. A big one, for example, is Thor. We see Hercules.
Yeah.
We see Hercules, and
I
you're
was
just
gonna say
like,
Eternals.
Okay, yeah, that's
Eternals with the dude, and like you hear Blade's voice.
Yeah,
you're like, that's never gonna come back.
Exactly. Whereas this one, literally, Fantastic Four ship
sets up the movie that comes out in 3 months.
The next movie, and you're kind of like, why would they see it? Right? It's not just the Fantastic Four ship where you're like, yeah, we know where but it's why would they see it?
Yeah, why are they the ones that are first to reply?
Yeah, but if from what we know, Fantastic Four is not in the same universe. That's the bigger question, right? How do they see this ship?
Why is that ship here? How'd that ship get there?
So that I did like that. It's actually leading into something a project coming up. It didn't have to necessarily be the next film, but it's nice that it's a film soon.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like I said before, nice to see the human side of heroes and have those themes of a real purpose for the story with the whole drug addiction, suicide, depression, loneliness. Something that people all over the world go through, and it's nice to not see them hide away from such dark themes when it comes to superheroes, showing people that it's okay.
Yeah.
Into our negatives.
I only have like two. One of them is just more of like a nitpick.
Okay.
The biggest one, I feel like you probably have this. I didn't actually look at your list, but Taskmaster. What a waste of time.
Yes
Like,
and no.
Like, I understand it from a point of like, hey, this character exists. We kind of just have to either we don't revisit the character or we can just.
I
end
think
it
that's
here.
what it was. I think
Definitely was
not very well received initially with the
yeah.
changes to Taskmaster. So I think that's one big issue. And they just needed to bring them in and be like, okay, how do we get rid of it?
Boom. Shoot
Yeah.
dead.
Shoot
Oh
her.
wait, guys, we're on the same team.
Yeah.
Too late.
And it's just funny because obviously in all the trailers we see Taskmaster in the shots with them fighting
Great marketing
Sentry
in
and
that
stuff.
regard. Like the fact that that is the thing that didn't get spoiled as fast as the new Avengers just goes to show you that no one cared about Taskmaster.
Yeah, I have down that it is like overhyped. And I wrote down might just be that way because it's a better movie that we've seen in the past while. But a lot of people are saying it's a top 3, top 5 Marvel film, and I'm like, no, it's definitely not. I think some people might need to go watch some of the earlier phases of the MCU, and they'll see that some films are pretty good and hold up. So definitely maybe look back at some of the films that you hold dear and see that they're much better.
Yeah.
I did write down as a negative a lot of the story is predictable.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to Sentry, I feel like that's going to be just obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the Marvel Universe, there is almost no one that really can just go toe to toe with him.
Yeah.
He's a pretty broken character. So matching Bob emotionally is kind of I think what a lot of people were expecting, some sort of Naruto Takano Jitsu situation. And it's not that it's bad. I mean, some people don't love the whole friendship wins. The only thing I didn't love was that it ended in like this team hug. But in this team hug, there's just this weird dynamic of some of these characters have met Bob and have at least talked and joked and gone through some sort of thing with Bob, escaping.
3 of them.
And then 2 of them just don't know anything about him.
Nope.
Bucky being one of them, and they're all hugging him, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
it would have been nicer if they all had some sort of connection to him
Bob
in a
of
different way.
some
But
sort, yeah.
that's a bit nitpicky. But yeah, I'm not always. I mean, I love Naruto, but I'm also not the biggest fan of Takano Jitsu.
I don't want to say that's how they defeat him in the comics the first time around, but
well, yeah, I mean,
Takano Jitsu is the thing that happened.
How he's a broken.
Yeah, exactly.
He's so. I mean, thinking back to the fight scene where he is fighting the new Avengers, man, just like the bullets, stopping the bullets, launching the bullets back, chucking Red Guardian through the window, grabbing
Back
him back
again,
and through. Oh
boom.
man, he was just the speed,
Ripping Bucky's arm off in a second.
bending the shield.
Yeah.
Oh man, they had no chance, 0 chance, and they did such a great job of showing how powerful he was. And then I said for both Ghost and
U.S. agent.
the U.S. agent, they did have what felt like some importance in the beginning in the first act, because obviously they're all going to the point to kill each other. And then after you kind of see a little bit of like their struggle, they're just kind of like there.
Yeah.
Which is just didn't feel as balanced, I guess, with all the characters, unfortunately.
So with that, the original script and some of the original shots was Thunderbolt. U.S. agent was going to be the villain of the film.
Okay.
He was going to be like Valentina coerced him to try and take them down and like kind of spy on them and then take them down by the end. Like he was supposed to be the original villain.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been as good.
It would not have been as good. I agree.
It's better with Sentry because Sentry's not truly a villain, right? That's what makes him good.
He's literally a guy who has uncontrollable power, doesn't want to use it. Because if he does it, the void comes back.
Mental health issues, and that is...
It's a little bit different in the comics, but in this adaptation, the whole mental illness.
The way they do it in the MCU is they have it as he gets through the testing to become part of
Sentry
become Sentry, and everything is enhanced, including his
addiction,
his depressive episodes.
Yeah,
and that's how Void is. The entity that is Void is kind of created.
Similar
and
in a way to the comic.
It works really well, I think. I did also mark down here marketing genius or epic fail.
Marketing genius.
For after the opening weekend of the movie, Marvel has already blew the top on the movies truly being the new Avengers, showing that the asterisk was meant to be like, hey, this is the new Avengers film, not the Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is a placeholder, if you will. In all honesty, I don't really think it's that big of a spoiler. I guess some people will find it like they don't want any of that information. And yes, it is revealed at the very end, like that it is. I just feel like you could have kind of seen that it was some sort of good guy team, whatever that name ended up being. All they're doing is saying what the name is. And cool thing about it is now we know there's the new Avengers, which seems to be more government-y controlled. So what does that mean for some of our other heroes we already know are in the MCU?
The regular Avengers.
Yeah. What are they going to be called? What are they still Avengers?
Oh, they are.
So I'm interested. It does get you intrigued. I also thought it was really hilarious seeing the actors going around and like replacing posters with the new Avengers posters. But I could see how some people would be
what I enjoy,
especially after the opening, like Monday.
Yeah.
After the opening weekend, this is all changed, including the IMDb page. Yep. The title is still Thunderbolts, though. Yeah. That is the official title. So
that won't change.
A year down the line, it's still Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
But I do think it was, you know what? I think it's marketing genius. I think it was something different, something cool and unique. Mm-hmm. And obviously we saw it. So it's a lot. We're biased in terms of we're not spoiled.
But that's the thing. I think that it's unfortunate because of how much social media plays a part in a lot of things these days, is that if you don't see a movie opening weekend, stuff's going to get spoiled. So the fact that they're like, you know what, we're going to spoil it before other people
Endgame might be the biggest thing that didn't
get spoiled.
As much.
Infinity War getting dusted at the end.
Yeah.
A lot of people
was the one that was
Yeah. Endgame is when everyone comes back.
Yeah, Infinity War was the one where the Russo brothers wanted people to wait.
Silence,
yeah. And for the most part, I will say most people
respected that.
Really did.
I'll take it a step further. What I love about this marketing too is that if you go to like Twitter and you go to the Avengers thing, it has a trademark symbol next to it now as like an extra little like boom.
Well, and it gets people thinking. I've seen a lot of theories about, they're like, well, we have Sam who wants to recreate the Avengers.
Yep.
Now we have the new Avengers, which is by the government. And it's like, well, they're going to need lawyers. We just so happen to have
Murdock, baby.
We just happen to have 2 lawyers in the MCU.
She-Hulk
and Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock likely to help Sam, because Sam, if you will, is the little guy fighting against the government, and maybe She-Hulk's more likely to take on the bigger role of helping that side. Could be interesting. Also, we've seen Matt and She-Hulk already interact with one another in She-Hulk, if you've watched that. It was okay.
It was something.
6 out of 10.
I will throw a theory out here that I don't have on my sheet, but I've been thinking about it, and I actually saw someone on TikTok talk about it too, where I was like, okay, it's not just me thinking of this theory. And this is a theory I've talked about on the podcast before of in Endgame, Thanos talks about how nothing can be fully destroyed. Energy just gets transferred to something else, whatever, right?
Okay.
So when Thanos destroys the Infinity Stones, they're never fully destroyed. The energy just gets shifts to something else, right? So there's this running theory that there will be 6 people that represent the stones now, entities, people, you know, and Sentry is would be the 3rd one that we've seen now. So with Sentry, his powers are all like gold. His costume is gold. The whole thing is about that, which is the Mind Stone,
right?
And his whole power is literally to make you disappear and relive through your darkest memories and stuff like that. And then the other 2 would be Loki, who literally becomes the god of time at the end of Loki season 2, and what's the color of the time stone?
Green.
It's green. And then you have the Wanda, whose power is red, and she becomes insane and supposedly dies and everything like that. And she's the what stone is it? The red stone. Can't remember the name of it. The one that's in Thor 2.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Not Soul. Power's in my head, but I wasn't sure. But she'd be that stone. So it's like this concept of that. By the end of this, we'll get 6 characters that represent the 6 Infinity Stones.
It's interesting.
It's an interesting theory. I don't know if they're going to go for it.
But Doom's green.
But Doom is green.
And he's the big bad, most likely, unless they really pull a...
Well, it depends on what happens in Secret Wars.
We will find out But yeah, other than that, let us know how you felt about the whole, if you got spoiled by New Avengers, if that upset you, or if you're not a big fan of that marketing style. I also think maybe people weren't seeing because they're like, Thunderbolts, what the heck is that? Like, I don't get.
Yeah.
And now with this new title being the New
They're like,
Avengers, maybe people are like,
What do
excuse
you
me?
mean? Avengers movie that
If
randomly
you would
came
have,
out?
yeah, if you would have told me it was
Yeah.
Avengers, I would have gone and seen it.
I'm really curious to see what this weekend of box office
If it
numbers will bring.
it goes up a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was cool. Even if it doesn't work that well, I think it was a really cool, something different. I thought it was a cool ploy, like, you know. And then I guess our final thoughts for enjoyment. Thought the movie was, I saw this quote. It was a comment. It kind of made me laugh. The movie is like a B-list Avengers movie with Superman that meets Inside Out.
What a sentence.
I was like, you know, dealing with all your emotions.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Um,
But I thought the Marvel, it was kind of like, I don't know if I'd say Marvel's back. I just think Marvel had so many home runs that sometimes you just got to hit singles.
that's fair.
And sometimes you strike out,
Yeah.
you know? And so I'd say that this one was a solid double or a triple, you know? We're getting on base.
Yeah, great bounce back from Marvel in recent years.
If anyone understands baseball
Yeah,
references.
exactly. If anyone understood that. I think the Thunderbolts brings back the old Marvel feel, and it makes me excited for the future of Marvel.
It's a Marvel film. I don't feel any guilt in saying I recommend seeing it.
Yeah, I agree.
Which it does feel like I haven't. I mean, I would say that about Wolverine and Deadpool as well, but
That's for like a different reason, though.
yeah.
For this one, I think this does a really good job of like, say you haven't been on the Marvel train the last few years. You watch this movie, I could see people being like, oh, I kind of want to know more about them. And then, then they're going to go watch The Black Widow. They're going to go watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
It was a little different, a little bit of the same,
Yeah.
you know, and I thought it was well done overall. Executed well.
I agree. Before we wrap up, I wanna pick your brain for something too when it comes to this. I've been seeing this theory online is that because now with this new Avengers, we have 6 people.
Okay.
And people are like, oh, they represent like a B-list version of the original 6.
Right, it's because we have like a Black Widow, a Captain America. Well, we have 2 Captain
That's the thing, yeah.
Americas.
So who would you put? Because obviously Sentry would be Thor.
Sure. the
Yelena
godly
would
character.
be Black Widow.
Yeah, those are easy.
So then we got Hawkeye, Iron Man, Cap, and Hawkeye.
Ghost would have to be Iron Man. the
Have
most
to be Iron
techie.
Man, yeah. So then who's Hulk, who's Cap, and who's Hawkeye?
I guess Hulk is.
I would say this sounds weird, but U.S. agent because he's like can't always, like we see it in the earlier film when he gets frustrated really easy and then he jumps into the attack. So like him being a dick, I don't know if that's good enough reason because Red Guardian can't be the Hulk.
But
like,
Red Guardian can't be Captain America.
I know that's so Bucky has to be Cap.
Yeah, Bucky's Cap. Fitting because
Yeah.
he's been Captain America.
So then, what? Red Guardian is Hawkeye.
Yep, he's a sniper.
He's a sniper, and then U.S. agent would be Hulk then.
Sure.
Which by the way,
It doesn't exactly
it doesn't
line up,
exactly
so it doesn't
line
make
up,
much sense
but-
as a theory. Obviously, the moment we get introduced to Elena, we know what her purpose is going to be.
Yeah.
You don't bring in such a massive actor and not have like, oh, we're going to be using her in the future. Because remember, Black Widow comes out after Endgame.
Yeah.
We know that Scarlett Johansson's done. We will not be seeing Natasha anymore as Black
so
Widow.
Why bring in Yelena?
We bring her in because we know that she's going to be the new Black Widow.
Yep.
And I've enjoyed her as Black
I
Widow.
think she's been great. Yeah, I think she's called White Widow in the comics. I think.
I think so,
Something
but
like that. But we
so
have yet
far
to see that name.
she gets referenced as just a Black Widow.
one of
Big
them.
one is in Hawkeye, where we see him mention they've sent a Black Widow after me.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I thought overall was a very solid movie. Would recommend if you are on the fence, go on the side of go and see it and make your own opinion.
Agreed.
But yeah, with that said,
Thanks
join
for
us.
listening.
Join us next week.
Special episode. Very
Get your
special.
questions ready.
Yes.
You know,
24 hours from the release of this episode, essentially.
Yep. Get your questions ready. Drop them down in the Discord if you forget. You know, put them there so you remember.
Exactly.
And that's 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Be there or be square right here on the Nerdy Misfit YouTube channel.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. And we will see you next Wednesday.
Yes. Well, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
But also next Wednesday.
But also next Wednesday.
Goodbye.
Bye.
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast. Don't forget to join the island by dropping a follow. Thank you, and see you next week.